Can a single kiss save a life, or unleash something far worse? 4 generations. Every man in Ethan Cade's bloodline died on his 30th birthday. The world called it a heart condition. But the truth? It was a curse, ancient, ruthless, and unstoppable. Now, Ethan is the last Cade alive. His heart is a ticking time bomb, until she crashes into his world. Lila Reyes. A mysterious girl with eyes that see souls and secrets no one should ever witness. She shouldn't have fallen for him, and he should have never let her kiss him. But love doesn't ask for permission. As their hearts collided, time bent, and the curse cracked. And for the first time in centuries, Ethan Cade had a chance to live. But just when freedom tasted real, Lila's gift showed her the horrifying truth. Breaking his curse didn't end the darkness. It awakened it. And now, it's coming for them all. This isn't just a love story. It's a battle between fate, ancient vengeance, and the kiss that started it all. Will love break the curse, or will it become the deadliest trap of all? If powerful stories of love, loss, and redemption move you, hit that like button. It helps more people discover love stories worth telling. Drop a comment telling us where you're watching from. We love connecting with you. And be sure to subscribe and ring that bell. Because every story I share is chosen to make you feel something real. From the windows of his penthouse, Ethan Cade could see the city he owned, or at least most of it. The lights below twinkled like fallen stars, each one representing a life he'd touched through his empire, yet never truly connected with. Billionaire, tech genius, tabloid heartthrob. He was all of it, yet none of it mattered anymore. Not with the diagnosis ringing in his ears. A rare heart condition, untreatable. 6 months left. Maybe less. But what the doctors didn't know, what no one could know, was that Ethan's condition wasn't entirely medical. It was something far more ancient, far more mystical. His grandmother had warned him about the family curse before she died. The Cade men were blessed with extraordinary success, but cursed to die young unless they found true love. Real, selfless, soul-deep love. His father had died at 35, his grandfather at 32. Ethan was 30 now, and the hourglass was running out of sand. He pressed his palm against the cool glass, feeling the steady but irregular rhythm of his failing heart. The physician spoke of genetic anomalies and cardiac deterioration, but Ethan knew better. His heart wasn't just failing medically, it was starving spiritually. Every fake smile, every calculated romance, every relationship built on his fortune rather than his soul had weakened it further. He didn't fear death. He feared dying unloved, and worse, unknown, until she stumbled into his life. Lila Reyes had never stepped foot inside a 5-star hotel, much less served in one. The marble floors seemed to stretch endlessly, reflecting crystal chandeliers that cost more than her annual rent. But when the agency offered her 3 nights as temporary cleaning staff for Cade International's Grand Gala, she couldn't say no. She needed rent money, and more importantly, her mother's medication for the rare autoimmune disorder that was slowly stealing her away. What Lila didn't know was that she possessed something rarer than any gemstone adorning the guests that night. She was one of the few people born with the gift of true sight. She could see beyond facades, beyond masks, into the very essence of a person's soul. It was why she'd never been able to maintain relationships with shallow people, why she gravitated toward art and beauty, why she felt so desperately alone in a world full of pretense. She'd learned to suppress the gift, to ignore the shimmering auras that surrounded certain people, the way emotions manifested as colors in her peripheral vision. But tonight, as she navigated through the crowd of socialites and business moguls, the energy was overwhelming. She was carrying a tray of champagne flutes when she saw him across the room, and immediately her gift flared to life. Where others appeared with muted colors or sharp, artificial edges, Ethan Cade blazed with golden light that was slowly dimming, like a dying star. Around his heart, she could see dark tendrils of something that looked almost like chains, binding him, suffocating him. The shock of seeing someone so beautiful, yet so bound, made her stumble. The champagne glasses crashed to the floor, golden liquid spreading across the marble like liquid sunlight. She never expected to spill champagne on Ethan Cade himself, or that he would laugh. Not a mocking, entitled laugh. A real one. The kind that had been buried under boardroom deals and fake smiles for years. For just a moment, the chains around his heart seemed to loosen, and his golden light flared brighter. "You're the first person all night who hasn't pretended to like me," he said, grinning down at her soaked apron. "Refreshing." Flustered, Lila muttered an apology and backed away, expecting to be fired. But as she looked into his eyes, she saw something that made her heart skip. Genuine kindness, and beneath it, a bone-deep loneliness that mirrored her own. But he followed her. Over the next few days, Ethan kept finding excuses to run into her. A torn shirt that needed mending, a misplaced file in the service areas, coffee orders that somehow required his personal attention. Each encounter was brief, but charged with an energy that neither of them could ignore. Lila knew better than to fall for a rich man's charm, but Ethan didn't act like any billionaire she'd ever imagined. He was curious, thoughtful, lonely, and he listened, truly listened. When she spoke about her mother, her art dreams, her stubborn hope that life would one day be more than just surviving. What she didn't realize was that each conversation was literally healing him. The chains around his heart loosened with every genuine smile, every moment of authentic connection. His irregular heartbeat was steadying, his energy returning. The curse was responding to something it had never encountered before. Someone who saw Ethan for who he truly was, not what he possessed. On the third night, as Lila was finishing her shift in the service area, she felt a presence behind her. She turned to find Ethan standing there, but he looked different. His usual confidence was replaced by vulnerability, and in her true sight, she could see the chains around his heart were almost completely dissolved, except for one, thick and dark, that seemed to pulse with its own malevolent energy. "I need to show you something," he said quietly. "Something impossible." He led her to his private elevator, up to the penthouse, and out onto the rooftop garden she'd never known existed. The city spread below them like a circuit board of lights, but above them, the stars seemed unusually bright, as if responding to their presence. "My family is cursed," he said, the words tumbling out in a rush. "I know how it sounds, but it's true. The Cade men are blessed with success, but cursed to die young unless we find true love. Real love, the kind that sees past everything else." Lila's gift flared, and she could see the truth of his words written in the very air around him. Ancient magic, old as bloodlines, woven into his very DNA. "And you think I'm that love?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. "I think," he said, stepping closer, "that you're the first person who's ever seen me. Really seen me. Not my money, not my power, not my reputation. Just me." They were from different worlds. But when he touched her hand one evening as they watched the sun set over the city from the service rooftop, it felt like the only world that mattered was right there. Ethan told her the truth a week later. Not about his wealth. She already knew that. About his heart. The prognosis. The ticking clock inside his chest. The curse that had killed his father and grandfather. That was slowly killing him. "The doctors think it's genetic," he said, his fingers tracing patterns on her palm as they sat in her tiny apartment, surrounded by her paintings, swirling galaxies and ethereal figures that seemed to move in the candlelight. "But I know what it really is. I can feel it, Lila. The curse is like a living thing, feeding on loneliness, on emptiness, on everything hollow in my life." She didn't run. She didn't cry. She just stood beside him, silent, until she reached out with her gift and actually touched the last chain binding his heart. It was cold, so cold it burned, and filled with centuries of accumulated pain. "I can see it," she whispered. "The curse. It's like a parasite, feeding on your isolation." His eyes widened. "You can see it? I've always been able to see things others can't. Auras, emotions, the truth beneath the surface. It's why I never fit in anywhere, why I always felt so alone. But you." She looked at him, and he blazed with golden light, warm and pure. "You're the first person I've ever met who shines. I don't want pity, Lila. I just want one thing before it ends. One real thing. One kiss from someone who sees me." Lila reached up, cupped his face, and said, "Then you should have kissed me yesterday." And he did. The kind of kiss that time forgot. The kind of kiss that made the stars blink. But more than that, it was the kind of kiss that broke curses. The moment their lips met, Lila felt the last chain around his heart shatter like glass. Golden light exploded between them, so bright she had to close her eyes. When she opened them, Ethan was staring at her in wonder, his hand pressed to his chest. "I can feel it," he breathed. "My heart. It's steady. It's strong. The curse. It's gone." But the world wasn't kind to mismatched love, especially when magic was involved. The media exploded. Poor girl steals billionaire's heart. An inheritance? But there were stranger stories too, whispered in the shadows. Stories of impossible light seen from the penthouse that night. Stories of ancient curses and modern miracles. The board of Cade International panicked, not just about the PR nightmare, but about the implications of what they were hearing. Ethan's brother Marcus, who stood to inherit everything if Ethan died, was particularly vicious. He'd always known about the family curse, had been counting on it to secure his position. The last thing he wanted was for Ethan to break free and live a full life. "She's a gold digger," Marcus told the press. "Some kind of con artist who's convinced my brother she's his soulmate. It's pathetic." But privately, Marcus was more concerned. He'd done his research on Lila Reyes, and what he'd found terrified him. A lineage that traced back to Karandras and wise women, a bloodline that ran parallel to the Cade family for centuries. Her ancestors had been the ones who'd originally cast the curse, a protection spell gone wrong that had bound the Cade men to suffering. Lila was the key to breaking it permanently, but she was also the key to activating it in ways that could destroy everything. Marcus hired investigators, had them dig into Lila's past, her mother's condition, her financial desperation. He found pressure points and began to apply them systematically. First, her mother's medication was mysteriously discontinued by the insurance company. Then her apartment building was sold to developers who wanted to evict all the tenants. Finally, she was fired from her regular job on fabricated charges. The message was clear. Walk away from Ethan, or watch everything you love crumble. Lila walked away quietly, refusing to become the headline in someone else's tragedy, but also refusing to let Ethan suffer because of her. She left him a note, painted on canvas. "Some loves are too powerful for this world, but love isn't selfish. It protects what it treasures most." But Ethan didn't let go. He understood immediately what had happened, what his brother had done, and for the first time in his life, he felt the full power of what it meant to be truly free. The curse was broken, but more than that, he finally knew what he was fighting for. He stepped down from his company, transferred control to a board of trustees he'd secretly been grooming for years. Then he liquidated most of his assets, systematically dismantling Marcus's power base while simultaneously donating billions to causes that mattered. Art centers, free clinics, educational programs for underprivileged children. One clinic he built in Lila's neighborhood, named after her mother. But he didn't stop there. He researched her family history, discovered the truth about the curse, about how her ancestors had been trying to protect the Cade family from an even darker fate. He found ways to ensure her mother got the treatment she needed, that her community had resources, that her art would be seen and celebrated. All of it done quietly, anonymously, through a network of foundations and trusts that couldn't be traced back to him. And then, quietly, he showed up at her apartment, a paint-splattered shirt in hand, breathing heavily. Not from his heart condition, which was completely healed, but from the sheer terror of potentially losing her forever. "You gave me more life in 2 weeks than I've had in 30 years, he said, standing in her doorway like a man who'd crossed impossible distances to get there. "If I only have one kiss left in me, I want it to be yours." Lila's eyes welled up. Her true sight showed her everything. The golden light that now surrounded him permanently. The way his very presence made the air shimmer with possibility. The threads of fate that connected them like silver cords. Her heart screamed yes before her lips even moved. They kissed again, in the middle of that tiny dim apartment. No chandeliers, no rooftop skyline, just two hearts that had found home. But this time, the magic was different. Instead of breaking chains, it was building bridges. Instead of ending curses, it was beginning blessings. Ethan's condition didn't magically disappear. It had never been a condition at all, just a manifestation of the curse. But the doctors were baffled when his test results came back completely normal. More than normal. His heart was stronger than it had ever been. His energy levels were through the roof, and there was something in his blood work that they couldn't identify. Something that seemed to glow under certain lights. They never married. They didn't need to. What they had transcended legal documents and social conventions. They built a quiet life filled with real moments. Paintings, laughter, late-night ramen, and sunrises on the same rooftop where their story began. Lila's art began to change, infused with a new kind of magic. Her paintings seemed to move, to breathe, to heal people who looked at them. Galleries fought to display her work, but she was selective, choosing only spaces that would make art accessible to everyone, not just the wealthy. Ethan discovered that his freedom from the curse came with unexpected gifts. He could see what Lila saw now. The auras, the emotions, the truth beneath the surface. Together, they began to quietly help others, finding people who were trapped by their own curses, their own chains, their own impossible circumstances. Marcus never forgave them, but he also never succeeded in destroying what they'd built. The magic that protected them was too strong, too ancient, too rooted in genuine love to be broken by mere human malice. Years passed. Ethan lived far beyond 30, beyond 40, beyond what any Cade man had ever achieved. The curse was not just broken but transformed, turned into a blessing that extended to future generations. Children born into the Cade line would be blessed with success, but also with the ability to recognize true love when they found it. People still whisper about the billionaire's last kiss, but only Lila knows it was never really the last. Because when love is that true, when it's powerful enough to break ancient curses and transform bloodlines, when it's the kind of love that sees past everything else to the very essence of a soul, every kiss feels like the first. And in the quiet moments, when they're alone on their rooftop garden, watching the stars that still seem to shine brighter for them, Lila sometimes sees other things in her true sight. She sees the future. Children with golden auras and wise eyes. A world where love is recognized as the most powerful magic of all. A legacy that will ripple through generations. The curse is broken. The magic is real. And somewhere in the city below, another lonely soul is about to discover that the most impossible thing in the world is also the most essential. Love that sees. Love that heals. Love that transforms everything it touches. The kind of love that makes even billionaires believe in fairy tales.